Hey everyone, welcome back to Watch and Carry. So today we're going to be doing a battery replacement on this calculator watch, which Boba Fett is standing on top of right now. This is the Casio DBC or data bank calculator model number 610. So a couple materials, or a few materials you're going to be needing for this job are, of course, the watch, and you're going to need a small micro screwdriver, a pair of scissors to open up the packaging for the battery, plastic tweezers, a piece of metal that's kind of bent into a U shape. So I've got a paper clip here for that. And then the battery, of course, which in this case is a CR1616. So I picked the batteries up for about these three for about I think $3 off of Amazon. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. We'll set the Fat Man to the side. Okay, and we'll get our camera ready. I actually just saw the trailer. I think it came out a while ago, but the trailer for the Mandalorian movie that's coming out. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. Hopefully that'll be well made. So you're going to get your watch. You're going to find a surface that is not sharp or abrasive to protect that screen. We'll take off our straps here on the back. This, by the way, is a Xeric. Really love this strap, designed by Xeric and Horween Leather. And this is what they call their ribbed strap for the ribbed ridges you find over there. And I picked these up off of watches.com. Okay, if you don't have those quick release spring bars, you can go ahead and just take your spring bar tool and put it in the corner and kind of push down on one of the springs there. So in the back, you have these 4 screws that secure the case back. And then we got one more here. Okay, we'll set those to the side, and you simply take the case off. And here's the back where you can see the battery. Couple things here to remove are this gasket or O-ring if you think that it looks dry. So I was given this watch, really nice gift from my uncle. I came over for dinner, and afterwards I helped him fix some of the straps and batteries on. He had I think maybe 15 or 20 watches, and then he threw this calculator watch in my backpack and didn't even tell me about it, and just said, "Here, go ahead and take it." And so I thought that was really nice. But because the watch has been with him for a while, I can tell that the gasket or the O-ring here is pretty dry. So I'm going to set that to the side, and we're going to oil that up later. And then, of course, you have the battery here, which you can go ahead and remove. So this is also a 3-volt CR1616. This plastic tray. Okay, and you're pretty much good to go. One thing to take note of for your watch is make sure that this spring here that's projecting up is still present. The point of that spring is actually to make contact with the back of the case back. And by completing that connection between the watch module below and the case back, it's allowing the spring to transmit a signal into here. And there's actually a very tiny speaker here in the back, and that's the speaker that gives you that notable sound for your alarm. And I think they call that a piezo, Piezo speaker. I don't know if I'm wrong about that. Just make a comment in the comment below. But that's the point of that spring, is to give you that sound to the speaker that's attached here in the back of the watch. All right, so we'll set that to the side. Let's go ahead and open up our battery here. So that's what I use the scissors for. And so, funny thing, I came home, and this has happened to many other items too. I was expecting it to get my battery today. So Amazon does a great job with tracking. They texted me on my phone and they showed me where the package was on the map. And you know, when I walked up to my door after work, I was expecting a relatively small package, but this is actually what I got in the mail. This big box here for these 3 tiny batteries. So something interesting about that always puzzled me. I was like, why would you ship something so small in such a big box? And I get it that you need to have a box or a packaging that's, you know, decently bigger than the package you're getting because you want it to be safe. But what actually is the reason, according to Amazon's press release, is they use all these trucks for deliveries. You know, usually it's this white painter's looking van that's outside to make the deliveries. And of course, in the back of that truck, you have a limited amount of space. So Amazon uses software to measure how much space is in the back of that van. And then they go to the orders that are being processed for the day, and using algorithms or software, they try to determine what is the best way to package all the items that were ordered in a way that we can maximize the amount of packages stored into that van, and also trying to keep all the packages snug, almost like you're playing Tetris, where you're trying to build the blocks in a way that's efficient without many open spaces. So that's why they use these boxes. So probably what happened was in Amazon's algorithm, they had this one space that was available on their computer that was the size of this giant box that I got. And the only order that they had to process left for that van within my area was a pair of batteries. And that's probably why they threw it in that box. So it's all about, I guess, maximizing storage space in the back of a storage van while also providing adequate enough packaging for the item that you ordered. So that's pretty interesting. I guess that makes sense to me. So anyways, these are the batteries here. And we're going to put this old one to the side. For battery, I always like to, keep a plastic bag for batteries here. And then when they get really full, you can take them to like your Office Depot or, your electronics store. And I think even Best Buy, they should be able to have recycling there for you. So much better than throwing it in the garbage. All right, so once you get your new battery out, what you're going to do is insert it here into the back. Okay, like so. Okay, and then we're going to take our plastic tray. For the 6110, you can see there's a small notch here in the bottom, and that's going to correspond to the spring that's projecting up from the top. So that tells me that this is the correct orientation to lay this tray down in. Okay, and then make sure this silver tab here, this contact tab, is also in its correct slot and that it's not being pinched by the plastic tray. Okay, and then what we're going to do is re-oil our gasket here. So I'm using this Hops number 9 lubricating oil. Just put a small amount on your finger. Okay, rub it between your finger and your thumb, and then just kind of pull that gasket through. And that's just going to really, it's almost like lubricating your skin if it's dry. It's just going to help preserve the life of the O-ring. And then, of course, the importance of that O-ring is to keep that seal that you have in the back of the watch for the water resistance. And then I'm going to go around the track. I guess you can get a Q-tip too. The track where that O-ring sits, I'm just going to give it a quick wipe. There's nothing on this, just a Q-tip. I'm just wiping up any debris so that way that, there's a little bit of dirt that came off there. So that way that O-ring sits in really well. Now the orientation of this O-ring is going to be as such. You can see here on the top we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points here that are pretty shallow, and then we have 4 points here that are pretty deep with their angles. So the shallow points are going to go to the 12 o'clock position or the top of the watch like that. Just use your tweezers to position it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, and actually I forgot here that this tray needs to be out first. So once you put the new battery in, we need to clear it. So there's a button here. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. Okay, right here you can see it says AC, and AC stands for all clear. And right to the bottom of the AC, you can see that there's actually a gold contact point, which is all the way there at the bottom. And so what you need to do is take your metal clip, put one end on that gold portion of the AC, and then the other portion just tap it to any other piece of metal that's on the case, that's on the watch module itself. So I'm going to do it like this. Okay. And AC stands, like I said, it stands for all clear. What that means is that sometimes when you change a battery on a watch and then you reassemble everything and turn it over, you'll see either maybe there's nothing on the screen, or sometimes the LCD will have parts that have the character showing and then other parts are blank. It looks really spotty. So what this does is pressing all clear is almost like pressing the reset button on the circuit board. So it clears out any residual signals that might be there. And that way, when that new battery is in, it'll just project a single signal, which should be the normal time or date or whatever you have on your LCD. So that's the point of pushing that in. And so now that that's pushed in, we can put our plastic cover back here like so. Okay, check our O-ring again, and that looks pretty good. Okay, reattach these 4 screws. These are really tiny, so sometimes even using your, sometimes even using your tweezer and your finger might make it a lot easier. There we go. Okay, then we're going to reattach the screws. And this guy here, which keeps jumping out. Okay, now for this, I've screwed these down pretty loosely, so there's still a little bit of play in the case back. I'm going to hold that case back closed, and I'm going to check the perimeter between the case back and the case just to make sure that that O-ring is not being pinched anywhere. So that looks good. And then we can go ahead and tighten the rest of these down. And I like to rotate Okay, so that looks good. All right, and then that looks pretty closer, so we'll turn this over. And there you go. So now we get the watch working again. So that looks pretty good. So occasionally some codes you might get here if there's a problem. Like I mentioned, if you forget to push the all clear button, sometimes you can have the characters here be a little bit splotchy, like there's a little bit of the character here and then part of it is missing, or the screen can be completely blank. If the battery you chose is also dead, it wasn't a good battery, it'll have a battery indicator usually right here. If the case back for some reason is not making good contact with that spring, or if you forgot to put that spring in, what will usually happen is there will be symbol here where it says Tuesday, it will say check or it will say open with a couple of asterisks on the back there. But yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's try that on. So right now I'm wearing my my modified AE 1200, AE 1300 Casio. And then this here that I'm holding, if you don't know, by the way, is called a dual deployant clasp. And I think I'll make a separate video on that. But the whole reason why I use this is just so that when you're putting on a watch like this, it's so much easier. And you don't have to crank down and pull the leather back against the buckle like you do usually. You just kind of slide it through the keepers here on the bottom of the watch. And it preserves the shape and hopefully the longevity of the leather. All right, and there you go. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions below, just let me know. If you're not sure what battery to use, you can also go to Google. And I know there's different types of batteries. There's CR, and then sometimes I'll get a different letter combination before the number. So what you can do is if you have a battery and you're at home and you're saying, hey, this looks like it's the right size, but is it compatible? You can just Google battery compatibility chart, and usually they'll have a graph or a chart that will show you, hey, CR1616 is equivalent to this type of battery and this type of battery, and you can gauge whether or not that's the right battery for you. But yeah, that'll do it for today. Thanks for tuning in. And if you could like, comment, or subscribe below, that would be much appreciated. Have a great day, guys.